Hi, I'm Judd Stover, and I am privileged to be the pastor of the Sutherland and Larrabee United Methodist Churches. You can visit us online at www.slparish.com. That's www.slparish.com. Today we're going to have a little fun with the eternalist perspective. You know, I've heard people talked about it before, and they never seem to get past the idea that God is not human. So the first point we want to make is God is not human. The second point, when you talk about the eternalist perspective, is trying to grasp that God is not in the same time frame we're in, that God created time, therefore God is beyond time. People keep thinking He's still locked into an hour is an hour, even if 1,000 years seem but as a day to God. But we're going to get a little beyond that. We're going to look at some of our science, especially Einstein's theory of relativity. So what we want to do is start out that God created time, and we exist in a very linear time frame that can't be reversed. It doesn't bend this way or that way. We just go on and on and on until we're not here. Our time is wrapped up in the length we live. There's a big clue there, but we also want to look at the idea of going beyond time. See, if God's not wrapped up in time, I'm going to jump some to the end here. If God's not wrapped up in time, when we die, as Christians, as faithful followers of Christ, we go to be with God, which means we go outside of time too. So the idea of a boring eternity where it just goes on day after day, hour after hour, month after month, year after year, doing the same thing, as joyous as that is not really quite correct, because the time you're at when we're with God is different than the time we're at while we're here in this world. For God's kingdom is not of this world, it's of His own world. It's a different time frame. And He exists beyond it. My feeling is God created time so we'd have a measure of our ability to figure out and understand who God is. I don't mean figure out fully, but to understand who God and Christ are, so that we can give our lives to this great divine forming mystery we call God, so that we can follow out of love the precepts of what His Son taught us when He came to be our example. Remember last week's sermon. So we have this time that's created for us as a measure of, from the fall of Adam to when we die, that we need to change our life for God, because it's not human nature, but a godly nature. We want to pull on a godly righteousness. Now, when I said about Einstein, and pardon me, I'm skipping all over the place here, but it's just a few minutes, and it's just for a taste. When we talk about God being beyond time, nobody really wants to accept that for what it might entail, that we have no comprehension or way of measuring that. And that's very true. But we don't have such a hard time when we think of Einstein's theory of relativity. And that as we go faster, as we get closer to the speed of light, time seems to slow down. And the theory that as you hit the speed of light, there is no time. That if you traveled for 8 years at the speed of light, you would not age a minute, not even a second. Well, think of that. What do we have that is faster than the time of light? But God. God is not bound by light, not the physical light we look at. He's far beyond that, far faster than that. God's thought is faster than the speed of light. So if we, as in the physical presence of our bodies, if as we would get to the speed of light, time would slow up to an end, and God can go beyond that. You understand where I'm going? God is faster than the speed of light, ergo no time controls Him. And He can go forward and backward. He's omniscient as a part of time. But we don't have to go to the speed of light. We have God. We know, and this is my considered opinion, as a conservative evangelical Wesleyan process theologian with a comprehensive eternalist perspective, that when we die, we're all in the same time frame. The great rapture they talk about is happening all the time. Every time a person dies, one is left behind. Just think of a husband and wife. When one of them dies, one's left behind. It's been happening for 2,000 years, for thousands of years. But in the instant they die, they don't fall into a time of death that's like ours. They go to be with God, which is beyond time. So my dad died in 1990, but when I die, I'll be going through the gates of heaven with him. Because this time won't matter. It means so very little. And once we start getting a hold of the concept that this time and this life don't matter compared to what's ahead, you start getting a bigger picture of how you live your life for Christ rather than from moment to moment, dollar to dollar, trying to protect your own little things here on earth rather than protecting your soul for the coming incomprehensible joy that will be in heaven. You might have a lot of nice things here. You might be filthy rich here. But the joy going into that new time, beyond time, that eternal time that isn't time, wow, kind of makes you want to get up and go there now. Well, I talked a lot. Shalom. Continuing a happy Easter. We can't wait for the Ascension sermon. God bless you. If you have any questions, you can email me off the webpage about the Eternalist Perspective. Glad to talk with you. Shalom.